Aptera was here. You guys tried to do some really cool stuff. It didn't work out. And that happens. That happens more often than not. Especially with car companies, new car companies, when you're trying, especially with cutting edge technology car companies, you're bringing it back. Why?
We had so many innovative things. Unfortunately, they were so innovative that no one else was doing them, and there was no support for anything like we were trying to do, and everything was a new and grand engineering effort. So we conquered a lot of those, but a lot of those cost a lot of money to conquer. And as we started to get some excitement around the brand, and we got a bunch of pre-orders, we had 4,400 pre-orders just in California. We could have had 20,000 or more, I'm sure, if we opened it up worldwide. But the board of directors saw a great opportunity to build 100,000, 200,000 Aptera a year, and Steve and I hadn't built 200,000 of anything a year. So we hired a new management team, and they came in and they set about with a new plan to execute on those bigger dreams. And that more money, which on top of all the engineering efforts that we had to conquer originally, launching into 200,000 units a year of production is darn expensive. And I don't know if you remember, but 2008, 2009 was not a fun economic time. So raising money for a very unique electric vehicle, when electric vehicles at all were questioned. Tesla had just put out the Roadster. We were up at Google with our first prototypes of Aptera, and literally got one of the first 3 Roadsters off the line there to come and have fun with us. So it was a difficult time when no one else was doing what we were trying to do, even a little bit. So not being able to raise private money meant the management team had to go and find some government money. And government money is even more difficult to come by sometimes than private money, because there's all sorts of bureaucratic loops you have to go through. And Steve and I, about this time had left the company and moved on to other endeavors. Steve building the world's largest hydroponics farm and working on some very cool innovations to make the world a cleaner, greener place. I had moved on to my battery company, my lithium battery company, Flux. And the other team set about trying to conquer this Department of Energy loan. And unfortunately, we're denied 2 times. And those 2 denials took a long time, a couple years. And then the company was really left with no really good options to, proceed into production. So they liquidated the company, they paid out the investors, they returned all the deposits, and everybody went about their merry way. The funny thing was, about 3 months after that liquidation, they were actually approved for that Department of Energy loan. But it was too so that's a sad time. But there's about $17 billion left in that loan program, and because we were granted that loan before, we're hopeful that we can go back and approach that loan program, and we start to ramp into to bigger production. But I was off doing my battery stuff, and Steve was off running a clean tech fund in Abu Dhabi and building his advanced hydroponics farm. We both had great successes elsewhere and learned a lot about how business works and why, and how to build things of value. So when the opportunity came back up to get back into Aptera, to reacquire the intellectual property and get things going again, I jumped at the opportunity. So I had always kept an eye on it and always wanted to revive the project, but there was just never an opportunity, and this was our window. So beginning of last year, we jumped back in and started the design phase, and found out really quickly that all the goodness that we had built into the last Aptera translated very well to a world where Tesla had innovated greatly on the drivetrain side and innovated greatly on the battery side, and there was actual standards for charging When we started, there wasn't
Right.
even a J1772 standard. We couldn't even plug the damn car in.
Right.
So, so, nowadays, it was funny going back and looking at the old design and just seeing how atrocious some of the systems were. The batteries were 6 times larger than they are now, just volumetrically, because they were air cooled A123 batteries. It was, just a nightmare looking at how that system came together. But now we're able to cram so much more energy density into a given, amount of space and go so much further. So we started, rebuilding our MATLAB models and rerunning our computational fluid dynamics models, and we found that holy crap, with a 100 kilowatt hour pack, we can drive this thing over 1,000 miles. I think that's pretty compelling. I think people will find that compelling. So it's been putting together the story and telling people the story and just trying to get our name back out there over the last 3 or 4 months. And I saw your guys' last podcast mentioning our launch, and to say you were critical would probably be putting a positive spin on it.
It's not often we get to apologize to the people.
I don't have to apologize at all, man. I totally feel you. Totally feel you for a lot of reasons.
Right.
But I wanted to reach out and say, hey, I think efficiency in transportation is important. I understand why you guys probably would give us a pass because of our history. But I'd love to come on and talk about efficiency and why I think it matters and why I think the rest of the EV industry should be more efficient. Like Aptera is, it's better for the world. It's better for all of us. So I would love to jump in and talk about Aptera more and talk about the EV industry and anything else that's on your guys' mind.